Welcome to Sisflix, the podcast where we won't judge you for talking through the movie. Sisflix are the movies you laugh at, yearn for, and overanalyze with your girls, significant others, and now us.
We are your hosts,
Paola
and Nadhya, two sisters and designers who discuss chick flicks we hate to love,
tropes we love to hate,
and all of the aesthetic choices in between. Join us as we break down our favorite movies together.
Hey, sister.
Hey, sister. Sister, welcome to the next installment of our Bridgerton Season 2 recaps.
Burr, 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 burr.
Can you tell me which episodes we're recapping today?
What episodes are we recapping?
I know it's all coming together in a blur, but y'all, we are recording today for your ears and your pleasure. Episodes 5 and 6 of Bridgerton Season 2.
Oh, yeah. 5 and 6. Shit gets steamy.
Oh, yeah.
This is where shit goes down.
It's about to
and
go
it's not even
down.
the down. Episodes 5 and 6 are action-packed. This is where that slow burn that we've been talking about, this is where it starts coming to a boil. This is dramatic. It's dramatic. It's juicy. This is why, season 2 was up there. I feel that's why a lot of people prefer season 2 to season 1. And I enjoyed season 1. I really did like season 1. But I've talked to people who find season 1 boring because it's predictable. Where this is like, you're like, oh, what are they going to do? What's going to happen?
It's not that I found season 1 boring. I guess, yes, it is predictable. Fake dating. They end up together. Da 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 da. But we've talked about this before. It's that season 2 has this heat to it that builds over a longer period of time than season 1. And that's something that, like, I don't even necessarily have to say, like, I love a slow burn. A slow burn is the best. Like, no, it depends on the story. But some people don't agree. That's fine. I think season 2 builds in a way that makes sense for the characters. I think even as the viewer, you're like, shit, like you're feeling this like tension that's kind of happening between the two characters. Their bond, whatever bond it is that they have up until this point, feels a little bit deeper and more significant, whereas in season 1 it's like, I just want to have sex with you. I don't know what sex is. I'm a woman.
Right. And it was just lusty. It's lusty and kind of discover as a girl, as a woman, kind of discovering your sexuality and your body and exploring that side of womanhood. Here, you have a fully fledged woman.
Yeah.
And fully fledged man.
She doesn't need you to tell her shit.
Yeah. Like you say, like there's this heat.
We're ready. Let's fucking go. As we get in to episode 5, titled An Unthinkable Fate. All right, y'all. As we get into episode 5, after the snafu that was the end of episode 4, we're all wondering, what the fuck is about to happen up in here?
Remind me, what happens in episode 4 again?
Dog.
It's the ball, isn't it?
It's the ball. It's the... Tell me you feel nothing. It's the last minute proposal to Edwina in Kate's face as they are leaving the steps of Aubrey Hall. It is everything, okay? We're coming into episode 5 with a confirmation that Kate and Anthony are super fucking into each other. In spite of all of that, Anthony has chosen to pursue a relationship and eventual marriage with Edwina instead. That's gonna fuck with them both. And we're going to see how that fucks with them. And we're going to see just how far they have to go before they have to course correct and figure out what the fuck they're doing.
Because this episode opens, we're all wondering, how on earth are they going to get themselves out of this?
So we open this episode with Kate fantasizing about Anthony. Girl, same. She's like fanning herself in one of the rooms in the Danbury house. She is back in her power color. She's wearing dark teal. Her hair is up. Like she
wears this color when her guard is up.
Yes.
I feel like. And okay, in case we haven't said it 100 times already, we'll just say it again. The color story in this season is spot on. And the teal blue is Kate's power color, as you said, Nadhya. And it's the color that she wears when she's one of two things, either in a dominant position or when she's guarded, or when she's acting as a provider.
3 options. So
Right.
it's essentially her armor color. And when we start seeing her in softer hues like purples and pinks, you know that you're going to get big moments of vulnerability, whether that's between her and another character, whether that's just for her like interpersonally. Like, those are colors that we don't associate with Kate. Like, we associate those types of colors with Edwina, or even a little bit with like Daphne, right? Like in some parts of season 1. Kate instead is like, her colors are bold, they're strong, there's no real ambiguity to what she is wearing and what you see when you look at her. And that's something that I really like about her character. Kind of what you see is what you get. So as she is standing in the Danbury house fantasizing about Anthony, he breezes past her. They get this almost hand touch, which, you know, the producers, the directors were trying to do so much fan service for us Pride and Prejudice hand flex lovers. They both extend their pinkies as they are walking past each other. And everyone's kicking their feet, okay? We're just girls. What are we supposed to do? This is what makes us giddy. We love when hands almost touch. Lady Danbury looks at Kate to keep her shit together. Lady Danbury is the queen of a warning glance throughout this entire season. And I just want to say, is she someone's Dominican mom? Because the quirked eyebrows, the pursed lips, the pointed looks, I mean, she's killing it.
She's constantly from across the room.
Yes. No me diga. So they are sitting with the queen. So I guess they're not in Danbury House. They must be in the palace. I thought they were
at the palace.
Thank you. Okay. I thought they were at Danbury House. They're at the palace. They sit with the queen to go over wedding plans. The queen is wild, and she has decided, because Edwina's her diamond, she's going to host the wedding herself, make it as extravagant as possible, because she needs to give Lady Whistledown a what for. Like, it's very weird. It's very petty and like recess bully type shit.
Well, I think it's more of her showing her significance. I'm still significant. My opinion is still significant. And that's what she wants to portray. It's a show of power, essentially, but power in the social aspect of society, where she feels like Lady Whistledown is leading the social aspect of society. She's the one talking. She's the one people are listening to. She's the one influencing the ton. She's feeling that she's losing that influence. So this is her way of kind of reclaiming that influence again.
At the palace, Kate and Anthony will not stop stealing glances at each other, and Kate almost spills her tea. She is bothered. She is bothered, bewitched, and bewildered.
She should have spilled the tea to Edwina.
You're scram. It would be crazy if people told each other the truth on this show.
As sisters, and you're supposed to be close sisters. The way that after that proposal, I would have been like, listen, so what had happened was you decide what you want to do, but this is what happened.
I wouldn't even wait until after the proposal. It would be the day of the hunt. It would be like that type of shit. Like, yo.
Oh, yes, of course.
Keep what's happening.
Of course. But at that point, Kate's not 100% sure that Anthony's going to propose.
This is the other thing, too. They're close sisters, but Edwina is like conveniently super fucking blind to everything that's going on. Because you're not going to tell me that it's, you're not going to tell me their whole dynamic is visible to Daphne. Lady Bridgerton, Lady Danbury, all 3 of them are clued into some shit that Edwina is not. That's crazy to me. And they're really fucking close.
Well, I don't think she was paying enough attention to her sister. And I think she was maybe distracted by the fact that she's the one on display. She's the one that's the focus, supposedly, and trying to catch Anthony's favor. And I think there's points where she tries to reach out like, hey, what's going on with you? Like, this is weird. Kate just deflects. And maybe Edwina, as the younger sister, right? Like, okay, you're older. Well, you got your shit together, so I'm sure you're fine.
I'll tell you something. The brand of anxiety I have.
You wouldn't leave me alone.
You know I wouldn't. You know I wouldn't. Paola answers the phone and sounds slightly off, sure. And I don't let that shit go for 15 minutes.
At the end of that scene, when Anthony does get down on one knee,
yes,
to propose to Edwina, right before that happens, she's getting ready to tell Edwina something, whether it's about the Sheffields or maybe how she feels about Anthony. Who knows? But she's about to say something, and then Anthony comes, interrupts the moment, and proposes. It happens in front of everyone. Lady Whistledown, as we hear in voiceover, reports it almost right away. So at this point, there's nothing that can be done that won't be completely embarrassing for the family. And the way she sees it, she's the only one uncomfortable. Anthony did what he had to do. Edwina, she's over the moon that Anthony has proposed. So for her, oh, this is just me who's uncomfortable. I'll be fine. I can deal with this. This is just temporary. I'm leaving for India anyway. I just have to put up with this until the wedding. 1 more month. She's just counting down the days at that point.
Yeah. And I get that. I mean, part of me kind of understands that, like, okay, just push through. It's not going to last forever. In a month, it'll be over, and I'm going to get the fuck out of here.
At this point for Kate, it can still go well for Edwina, which is ultimately her goal. And something that I do love that I don't know if we mentioned before is that by now you notice how Kate calls Edwina Bon and Edwina calls Kate Didi.
Yes.
And this is a way of the show always keeping their culture at the forefront. Bon is Bengali for sister, while Didi is Hindi for elder sister. Because as you know, India is a massive country that spans different dialects and languages. So they tried to incorporate little bits of Indian culture that span throughout the country to be able to represent the Sharmas.
In this episode, one of the things that we start to see more of is Anthony having a bath and doing like bath time as a moment of self-reflection. So we see him just in this one episode bathing twice, which is exactly 2 more times than we have seen him bathe before. Not that, and of course, the implication is not that he doesn't bathe. It is that for whatever reason, the filmmakers have felt it significant to show him bathing, to show him thinking, to show him stewing. Literally stewing in a hot bath.
Literally stewing. Love that.
Another thing that kind of comes up a lot, specifically in these episodes, but I would say throughout the entire season, is the usage of mirrors, right? The usage of mirrors, reflections, looking at yourself, self-perception versus perception from the outside. In one of his bathing scenes, there's a strategically placed mirror that reflects back on himself, gives the viewer another point of view. Mirrors are used throughout the season, honestly, to reflect a lot of the inner turmoil of the specific characters involved in the scene, whether or not they're telling the truth, right? A mirror can also be a pretty good gauge of whether a character will be honest,
what they're projecting,
what they intend to show versus what they actually feel, what they're trying to hide. So many different ways that like the usage of mirrors can be significant, but I think it's really interesting how frequently they're in the background this season, and what that can mean in each specific scene.
And even in just these 2 episodes that we're discussing today, we see it with Anthony, we see it with Kate, we even see it with Edwina.
Yeah. So something else that we also see in episode 5 is the Featheringtons. First of all, the scheming Featheringtons, forever scheming, constantly scheming, scheme. They are preparing for the upcoming nuptials of Philippa and cousin Jack. Why are they doing this? Because in episode 4, baby, Lady Featherington basically set them up to be caught at the Hearts and Flowers ball at Aubrey Hall, held by the Bridgertons, in a scandal, quote unquote scandal, to force him to marry Philippa. But what do we find out from cousin Jack? He was going to marry Cressida for her money. Why? This motherfucker is broke. Comically broke. Remember how we said if you're from the US, you know for a fact ain't no fucking rubies, ain't no emeralds, ain't no diamonds in mines out here? Yeah, we weren't fucking lying. What are you going to get? You're going to get your peaches in Georgia. You're going to get your corn. You're going to get some delicious acorns from trees. Like, you're not going to get fucking gemstones. So he was lying, but luckily nobody on the fucking Ton is going to board a ship, as he literally says, and go to the Americas themselves. So they believe him. They're like, bet. I bet he's made so much money with rubies. Idiots.
Well, cousin Jack is pissed. He's like, undo this shit right now. It's your fault that now I can't marry Cressida. Just let's undo the engagement with Philippa and I'll set my cap back on Miss Cowper. Lady Featherington is like, fuck you. No, because that's going to make us look bad and we can't continue to look bad. And so she insists that cousin Jack continue his engagement with Prudence because she's going to come up with a plan. And what's that plan? Her plan is that Jack will get the gentleman of the ton to invest in his non-existent ruby mines, while Portia and the girls try to flaunt the convincingly real looking kind of fake rubies around town to attract new investors. And that's when the line comes. What are they going to do? They're going to board a ship to the Americas to confirm that it's there? No, they're going to take your word for it. So they're pretty much banking on nobody knowing anything about geography and the Americas.
And another thing that they're banking on is no one requesting a fucking return on their investments. This isn't even Ponzi scheme shit. This is just scam, because it's not, oh, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. No, it is borrowing from Peter, borrowing from Paul, borrowing from Michael, Matthew, whatever the other biblical names are, and then spending it and doing nothing.
Because the belief is like, oh, they take forever to mine this stuff. Like, you're not going to see a return on investment for a while.
It's long term, baby.
It's long term. We're here for the long haul. So that's what they're selling to the gentleman of the ton. And that's what they're going with.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, it's an insane plan. It would provoke so much anxiety in my soul, but they're loving it.
Lady Featherington, like, if we saw scheming with her last season, this is the season you really see how Lady Featherington can get down.
She doesn't give a fuck. Especially when she sees herself and her family as like the ridicule of the ton. She's like, fuck those people. I'll take their money.
Yeah.
These people who like wouldn't spit on me if I was on fire, make fun of me and my daughters. Fuck these people.
Dios mío.
That afternoon, both Edwina and Philippa coincide at the modiste at the same time for their dresses and trousseaux. The trousseau being the bride's new belongings that will go with her to her honeymoon and or her new home after the wedding. So this includes undergarments, lingerie, new dresses, new dressing gowns, robes, sleeping attire, like pretty much anything she's wearing. She gets a whole new wardrobe.
Sometimes even furniture and just like like this is essentially what you take with you from your parents' home to your new home with your husband. Philippa is jealous that Edwina's wedding is more newsworthy than hers, and forgetting quite literally that she was found in a scandalous position and you don't want your wedding to be the one in the papers. I mean, this girl, she was just happy that she would be in Whistledown, pretty much. As Whistledown, Penelope touches base with Madame Delacroix about their venture together. Things seem to be going smoothly and everything's good for business both ways. While Edwina's getting fitted for her wedding dress, she looks so cute. She's going on and on and on about her excitement for her wedding. Rightfully so. She is super excited. She's getting married by the Archbishop himself. And she can't wait for them to all be a big, happy family together. Kate is in a corner trying to shrivel up. She cannot wait to get the fuck out of there. She's like, you do know I'm leaving for India, right? As soon as you're married, I'm not staying around here. And Edwina's like, yeah, but you're gonna visit and you're gonna be my kid's favorite aunt, and of course you're gonna be around. Kate decides she's gonna leave her home while Edwina and Lady Mary continue with their trousseau shopping because she literally just can't. As she's making her way into the Danbury house and up the stairs, the camera zooms into these lilacs in this shot when she's going up the stairs. And as we know, as our Duchess of Hastings mentioned, lilacs are the symbol of first love, a shade that Kate happens to be wearing in this moment. Again, this lilac hue is letting you know her guard is down in some way or other, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. When she arrives to the top of the stairs, who's there? Anthony is waiting at the parlor for Edwina. He's brought the jeweler with him to fit her engagement ring. Tag yourself, I'm the jeweler. Bring me cheese, crackers, jam.
Lemon cake. Tea.
I am going
snacks.
If any of that is in front of me, I am going to make myself comfortable and we're having a chat.
Guys,
what are we talking about?
I've told you this already. If you are faithful listeners to our little baby podcast, buy Paola fig jam. Bring her a generous lump of Gouda.
Aged Gouda.
aged Gouda, and a box of Target brand entertainment crackers.
Target brand.
You've got, I mean, it's not just like a henchman. Like, you've got someone who will do anything for you, go to battle for you. Paola knows what she needs to do for me. She buys me some brie, same fig jam, and we're there all night.
And if we fuck around and ordered sushi, that's it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
it.
3
A
a.m.
little
night.
white wine. A little white wine. Yeah, no, it's over. So Anthony and the jeweler decide to wait for Edwina in the parlor with Kate, which sounds terrible. They sit in a really fucking awkward silence until Anthony tries to talk about the fucking weather. And Kate, channeling Queen Kristen Stewart from the Twilight movies, is pretty much like, you want to talk to me about the weather? Fuck the weather. Why are you choosing to proceed with this engagement after what happened in your library? Says Kate.
Right to the point. Let's go.
Her calling this out feels like Kate was getting closer and closer to actually honestly addressing the feeling she has for Anthony, if not for his resistance, right? If not for his absolute fixation on proceeding with this marriage to Edwina.
100%. Remember when he walks out of Aubrey Hall and he says, Miss Sharma, and she turns around so ready to talk to this man.
That shit is brutal.
Yes, my lord. Oh,
yeah, no, that shit.
And then walks past her.
That shit is brutal. But he insists that nothing happened. He's like, nothing happened. Yeah. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. The men in black came. They shined the thing in my eyes. The men in
black came.
And my memory has been
wiped. Not the flashy thingy.
The flashy thingy. My memory's gone, bitch.
Did
I don't
you
know what the
flashy
fuck you're talking
about. There's a whole generation, Nadhya, that is not going to understand that reference.
And luckily, they don't listen to this podcast.
Probably not. You're right.
All right. Anthony, we all know you're full of shit. If anybody had seen what happened between y'all, other than Daphne, y'all would be getting fucking married like you were in the book, as we've discussed. Yes. They're both trying to like tease out specific responses from each other. He asks her, is that what you would have wanted? Is that what you wanted? You wanted for me to be like, no, I'm not going to marry Edwina. Too many things have happened between me and Kate. Is that what you wanted? And she's like, because, oh no, what if I'm honest and I say the thing that I'm feeling? It'll be held against me.
She's like, no, that is not what I would have wanted. And then he says, let's be glad we avoided such an unthinkable fate.
All right. Petty queen.
Ooh, yeah.
And then we get the title of the episode, Baby, an Unthinkable Fate, Take a Shot. The jeweler, Mr. Brooks, this old doddering fool, has the clever idea to try Edwina's ring on Kate. Okay, we've never seen this trope before.
Cringe. Yeah. As soon as he said that, I said, no, don't do it. And she does say no. She's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. He's like, ha, I can tell the size of a ring at 20 paces.
Also, wait, really quick, can we bring back paces as a measure of distance? Like, how fun is that? I can recognize my sister at 100 paces. Like, I love that for me.
Is that steps?
Paces? I get like a step, yeah. The distance between your steps.
100 feet. Yeah, the distance between your steps and the distance between my steps are completely two different measurements.
Don't let Paola mistreat me this way on mic.
Guys, I cannot walk next to Nadhya. I have to speed walk to be able to catch up to Nadhya.
And I'll tell you something. It is because I'm always late. And when you're always late, you get into a habit.
No, it's because you're a fucking New Yorker.
Well, also that part does help.
Yeah, Jesus.
Back to the parlor at the Danbury house. Kate is unfortunately roped into putting on this fucking engagement ring on her ring finger. Guess what happens, guys? I bet you couldn't have seen this coming. The ring gets fucking stuck on her finger because that's what the fuck happens.
Can I also mention something? He doesn't measure it.
No.
He puts the ring on her finger, walks away
to eat,
to keep munching on his lemon cakes.
Relatable
and then does nothing else.
Incredibly relatable.
Anthony, this fucking guy, grabs her hand to admire this ring on her and starts to caress her hand while she's wearing it.
He's so wild for this.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing? He's wild for this. And of course, at the time that the ring is fucking stuck on Kate's finger, that's when Lady Mary and Edwina walk back into the fucking parlor. Of course. And Kate has to do an almighty yank to get this fucking ring off her finger. It's tense and weird, awkward and uncomfortable. To make matters even more uncomfortable, Lady Danbury walks in with the news that she has invited the Sheffields, Lady Mary's parents, to dinner.
You know, the ones that cast out Mary for marrying Kate's father. I'm sure that will be a good dinner.
It'll be fun and not contentious at all. And the ones that Kate has a secret arrangement with regarding Edwina's dowry and basically Mary's maintenance, right? Financial maintenance for the rest of her life. That both Lady Mary and Edwina do not know about. So Lady Danbury is forcing Kate into a corner.
She really is.
She's pretty much like, you fucking tell them, because guess what? Now you're out of time, bitch. And if you don't want to be honest, the shit is going to blow up in your fucking face.
That's fucked up, though. And we know Lady Danbury doesn't hide from conflict, but like,
she confronts things.
She really screwed the pooch with that one.
Yeah. Maybe not Lady Danbury's best. And we'll see how that goes when the dinner does happen. Everyone is on edge after this interaction. And Lady Danbury suggests a promenade. And while they're walking alone, Lady Danbury feels the need to reiterate to Kate, who is acting as her escort, that Anthony and Edwina are as good as wed. Only a fool would try to break up that engagement. Are you that fool? Yikes. And Kate's like, no, I'm not that fool. Fuck.
I feel for Kate here. Like, she's getting the pressure from all angles.
The thing is that some of that pressure is self-imposed.
Yes, but now she's in a place where she's getting that pressure from Anthony to like suppress these feelings. Had he not proposed to Edwina and they would have talked after that situation in the library, I feel like she would have opened up to him. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm wrong. She's getting this pressure from Anthony to continue to suppress the shit that's going on between them. Mm-hmm. She's getting the pressure from Edwina because she knows or feels like this is what Edwina wants. This is what she's expressing she wants. She can't wait to be Anthony's wife. And then now Lady Danbury's coming down on her too. And she's just like, I can't wait to leave and be done with this.
In a way, the only elder who has been paying any meaningful amount of attention to Kate this entire time is Lady Danbury. Yes. If Lady Mary had 7 more brain cells, she too would have been privy to what was happening with Kate. Even if it was just that Kate is in conflict, even if it didn't involve the romantic aspect or her feelings about Anthony, she'd be like, hey, I feel like there's something off with my kid, the one that I've raised. No, Lady Mary is not even head in the clouds, yo. Like, I don't know where this bitch's head is at. It's not on her shoulders.
You know, and even while they're out, like even in this outing when they go out to promenade, she's like, oh, I have a headache. She doesn't want to be, you know, because she's dealing with anxiety, I feel like, from being back in the town and maybe like all of that coming back to her from when she lived there before and being out in society. I think this is maybe a trigger for her. Kate knows that and sympathizes with her on that. Because even before the dinner, she's like, I would understand if you would want to lay down and not be involved in the dinner. And I feel like that's what Kate's been doing ever since her dad passed away. Mary's take is she knows Kate is handling it and therefore she's like, I'm going to take my leave. I'm going to go lay down. She's so much less present than you feel that she should be with 2 daughters out in society.
2 unmarried daughters. Absolutely. As they promenade, Mr. Dorset. Ooh, he sounds familiar. We've met him before, baby. Back at the races. Mr. Dorset appears and he wants to walk with Kate. And it's actually really nice. They have a good time. They have some good conversation regarding travel, Kate's plans for after Edwina's married, right? Like when she intends to leave and go back to India. And they're having a nice time. Like, it's not even romantic flavored. It just seems to be genuinely good companionship. Anthony is stewing, steaming. There's not steam coming out of his ears. There's fire coming out of his ears. He is pressed as fuck.
So pressed when he sees Dorset talking to Kate and grabbing her by the hand and walking her to a boat, her laughing, having a conversation with another male. He cannot stand it. Like the smoldering look that comes.
It's so dumb. And, you know, he continues to insist on marrying Edwina. He's at this promenade with Edwina, Lady Bridgerton. Like, he can't have these bouts of jealousy, right? Like out in the world. Like he's made his bed, right? Like he needs to lie in it. Anthony is looking at Kate and Mr. Dorset with fire in his very soul, in his being, his essence, his eyes. Also promenading, because it's not just we're following multiple storylines, baby. Bridgerton is keeping it dynamic.
When they promenade, you know, it's like everybody's outside.
It is jam-packed. Colin is promenading, not super duper 100% together, but they're crossing paths, interacting, hanging out a little bit. Penelope and Colin, as they kind of discuss how they're doing, Colin's travels, how he's feeling as a person, Colin feels a little bit lost and directionless. Everyone has found their purpose or has gotten married or is in the process of getting married. Benedict is doing art. Antony is finally getting married. Daphne's gotten married and now she's having her children and creating her family. And he feels like he's just there feeding the ducks. But Penelope is always going to try and inject some confidence and some encouragement, leave him feeling better about himself than he was feeling before. Their friendship starts to feel a little bit more authentic rather than just one-sided Penelope pining for Colin, which is a little bit of how it felt in season 1. However, Colin remains just as oblivious as before to Penelope's feelings. I don't know how, because Nicola Coughlan does not try to hide her face, okay? Her feelings are all right there, ready for us to see.
I think it's a purposeful oblivious. Sí, yo creo que él se hace loco. Like, he knows there's a hint of something, but he's not ready to entertain that. It's in the books. In the books, when you read their story, he kind of expresses like, oh, you know, I knew she kind of had a little crush on me, but we're just friends. It wasn't really like that, though. It's not malicious.
Guess what, friends? Men ain't shit. Hopefully, we see a little bit of a role reversal in season 3 where Colin is doing a little more pining. Penelope's doing a little more evading. That's what the fuck I want to see.
I want to see that realization hit him like a brick.
In the face. I love that.
When he realizes that she's been there in front of him the whole time.
And he was about to fumble the motherfucking bag.
Yes.
During this specific interaction, Colin mentioned something about Eloise and Penelope meeting later. And Penelope is like, oop, recovers quickly, covers for her friend, but she knows this is a lie. She and Eloise don't have any plans. What we find out is that Eloise has snuck off to meet Theo Sharp from the printer's shop at a political assembly about women's rights.
Okay, Eloise. I'm not really mad at it. A little risque.
First of all,
but I'm not mad at it.
I'm hype about this. Their banter is so good. Theo Sharp and Eloise are so cute together. They obviously have a lot of the same interests, share a lot of the same beliefs. We love this. We ship this.
We ship them, yes.
Penelope starts to get concerned that Eloise is blowing her off and lying about her whereabouts. And this is like, Paola and I were conflicted about this when we watched season 2 for the first time.
Right.
I thought Penelope was being like a weirdly jealous friend. I mean, hey, we're all girls. Even if you're not a girl, we're all girls. In girl culture, friend jealousy is fucking real. Paola was like, she knows that Eloise is getting closer to discovering Lady Whistledown, and getting close to the person who works at the print shop is a surefire way to expedite this Lady Whistledown process. I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was just like, Penelope's mad. She is so mad, bitter, petty that Eloise is chilling, vibing.
On the rewatch, I'm still not 100% sure.
Maybe it's a mix of both.
When I first watched this season, to me, Penelope's pressed because this is the guy that works at the print shop where she prints her pamphlets.
Yeah.
If Mr. Theo Sharp worked at any other print shop or worked anywhere else, would she be as pressed about Eloise entertaining him?
I don't think so.
That's what I mean. Is this overprotectiveness of Eloise just selfishly her not wanting to be discovered? Or is she truly worried about her friend's position in society if it's found out that she's mingling with people below her class in a political assembly? What's the hot take? What do you think? I would love to hear
what the streets say about this.
I would love to hear what you sisters think about this. What do you guys think? Do you think she's just pressed because she's getting closer and closer to discovering who Lady Whistledown is, like the proximity of Theo Sharp working at that print shop? Or is she truly worried about how people will perceive Eloise, knowing that she's going into political assemblies and hanging out with a male unchaperoned that's below her class?
We'll see. Time will tell. So at this assembly, kind of in the background of Eloise and Theo Sharp's interaction, we hear a speaker expressing that women should not have to rely on an inheritance from their male relatives to ensure their financial independence. Bitch, snaps. We go from that to Kate expressing how fulfilling it would be to live an independent life as a teacher or governess back in India.
And I feel like this show, it continues to walk the line of making their lead women independent and strong, but at the same time, kind of having to be okay with giving that up in the name of love and marriage.
Oh, yeah.
We celebrate Eloise's independence and wanting to be free. We celebrate Kate wanting to be independent and being a governess. But at the end of the day, you know, the show is still putting them in situations where they're going to have to give that up to be with a male.
I need you to know that I'm very much a feminist until the right guy comes along. So anyway.
That's what it feels like, honestly. Jo March's speech comes to mind. What was it that she says, Nadhya, when she says, you know, women are so much more.
Women are smart and kind and have more than just beauty. And we are built for so much more than just love.
Yes. But it's also so lonely. Like that conflict.
Oh, yeah.
Is what comes to mind when I think of that.
As Kate and Mr. Dorset continue having a lovely time on the river, Anthony is, man, that man is burning up. He is turning to ash.
He cannot deal.
When the time comes for Kate and Mr. Dorset to disembark and dock his little boat on the bank of the Thames, Anthony pushes his way over to Kate to help her out of the boat. She takes his hand.
He is so messy.
She's not wearing gloves. He's not wearing gloves. It's like a hand caress moment.
Another one.
She pulls away because she's kind of falling into this caress. She's like allowing herself the comfort. And then she's like, oh shit, no. A, we're in public. B, no, I shouldn't be doing this at all. As she suddenly startles and pulls back, he steps back, trips over Newton, the fat corgi, Kate's dog, and ends up in the fucking river.
Thank you, Newton, for this wonderful scene. Because Anthony is wearing the thinnest shirt to ever shirt.
I'm dead.
Because it becomes almost entirely transparent.
That shirt is working, baby. That shirt earned
or
the
not,
paycheck.
or it's not working.
It earned the paycheck.
And we get a nice little homage to 1995's Pride and Prejudice when Colin Firth comes back from a swim in the pond and he puts his shirt on over his wet body and it's all pressed on him. So everyone is staring at the wonderful example of pecs and shoulders that is being displayed. Tag yourself. I'm Edwina's thirsty ass. Quote, unquote, refreshing indeed. While Nadja's trying to get me not to stare. I have eyes for a reason.
I'm trying and I'm not succeeding. What we don't see as we follow the Bridgertons as they're out and about promenading is Benedict. Benedict, who's busy at the royal school with a model that he met in his sketching class.
Mm-hmm.
She does nude modeling to be able to absorb the lectures that women were not allowed to receive because she was not allowed to enroll as a student. Benedict returns the favor and models for her, strips down. They, of course, end up having sex. Artists are libertines. They're fucking.
What do they do at that royal school now?
They be fucking. While Benedict is raking his way through life, raking up, not the leaves, baby, raking up female bodies, we get some insight from the matriarchs of this episode about the sacrifices that might be necessary to pursue one's true love. Mary is incredibly nervous to see the parents who disowned her for marrying the man she loved. And she explains to Kate that there was nothing like the connection she had with Kate's father, implying that all of the consequences were worth it to be with the man she loved.
Dun, dun. As Kate fans herself with a book, question mark, but something Kate replies with is, that's rather a high price to pay for love, I would think. So, you know, this is something that she's considered. Is it worth it to be shunned by your family to follow true love? And she does have in this scene when she's outside in this garden with Mary, she has the perfect opportunity to tell her mother about her feelings. The perfect follow-up to her mom revealing how she felt when she was a young girl married to their father. Perfect follow-up to that would have been, hey, this is how I'm feeling about Anthony. But no, she continues to press on as if everything is okay. So this is the night that they're planning to have the Sheffield Charmers over, as we mentioned earlier. And as Anthony and Violet prepare for this dinner, Violet confesses that she has been watching him and she knows that he's marrying a woman that he doesn't hold any great love for. Remember when he was smoldering over to Kate and Dorset? Well, Violet was watching that. Edwina didn't catch that. Violet caught that. And she knows that he's pursuing this engagement with a woman he doesn't really love. And she can imagine who it is that he is pining for.
He feels like he's in too deep.
Yes. And she agrees with him. Like, yeah, there's nothing you can do right now. But if you let Edwina know how you feel, you can let her break off the engagement. That doesn't reflect badly on her. That reflects on her taking, she changed her mind. Things like that happened all the time. And Violet continues to encourage him to wait for a love match, which is what his father would have wanted. This is what we imagine his father would have wanted based on the relationship he had with his mother. By what he says, by him saying, I'm already in too deep, he makes it known that he might have wanted a different outcome. But he echoes what Kate says at Aubrey Hall. It does not matter what I want. What matters is my responsibility. At this point, he's just keeping his word to fulfill his duty as a gentleman. Another matriarch offering advice this evening before this dinner is Lady Danbury, who tells Kate she planned this dinner for her sake as well. I don't know. I don't believe her. Reminding Kate that Edwina marrying the Viscount also benefits her because it allows for her to live an independent life, which is what she's expressed she wants to do. Now, there's something that Lady Danbury says that reminds me so much of a young Agatha Danbury in Queen Charlotte. When she tells Kate, a life of independence is no mere consolation, and many would think it the better price. After passion calls and fate intervenes, who else is a woman left with but herself? And that makes me think so much of a young Agatha Danbury in Queen Charlotte after everything she went through. And she's passing that on to Kate. You're going to be happy. You're going to be financially independent. You'll be fine because I'm fine. So now we're at this dinner and we finally meet the infamous Sheffields. And Lady Sheffield is messy off the bat. Things pop off almost immediately when she starts berating her daughter Mary about her past decisions. Something I love about this scene at dinner is we finally see Mary talking. What I mean by talking is we finally see Mary display some power, right? Defend herself or lay out her position. We finally see Mary show some strength and come to Kate's defense when Lady Sheffield tries to talk down to her. And she doubles down on her defense when she says that their rejection of her is what allowed her the freedom to raise her daughters without their judgment and without their demands to chase wealth and status. Ay, pa que fue eso? Because with this statement, Lord Sheffield brings up the settlement that Edwina would receive for marrying an English lord. And the crowd goes wild. This confuses and stuns everyone. Kate starts trying to explain herself and explain the situation. When Lady Sheffield starts to insult Kate and her late father, Anthony stands up for Kate and the Sharma women and says, since the moment you arrived, you have failed to show the proper respect to the Sharma family, and I will not stand for it. This man is so sexy when he stands up and starts to defend these women because he continues with, they are a credit to both their parents as his eyes rest on Kate. And he proceeds to kick out the Sheffields and disinvites them from the wedding. And now we're all in love with Anthony once again. He's made up for all his bullshit with this one speech. Once they leave, everyone looks to Kate. Now everyone's mad at her. Everything that she was trying to avoid blew up in her face. The Bridgertons feel betrayed. They excuse themselves and get up to leave. Edwina tries to call Anthony back, and he turns away from her mid-plea, and she's devastated. But when Kate calls to him, he stops. He turns around, turns to his mother and said, "Mother, I'll meet you at home." Because he can't resist that request from Kate. He can resist it from Edwina. Because even the way that at the dinner, he's listening to the chaos. But he doesn't react until Lady Sheffield comes for Kate personally. So Violet goes home and Kate and him step into the parlor to hash it out. She pleads with him to not take his anger out on Edwina. Edwina didn't know. And it was pretty clear that Edwina didn't know. Her and Mary were as surprised as Lady Bridgerton and Anthony. And Anthony makes it clear that he's not mad at Edwina. Edwina's not the problem. The problem is Kate. And as she redeclares, that doesn't matter because I'm going back to India. I'm not going to be here. You don't have to deal with me. He hisses.
And it is not far enough.
There is no corner of the earth that is far away enough to free him from her.
I can't. It's so good.
As the viewer, you are behind Kate on one side of her, looking at Anthony when he delivers this exquisite line. "You are the bane of my existence." The camera pans to Kate's other side as his voice takes just the slightest desperate turn, and the object of all my desires. He steps closer, inches from her face, and whispers, "Night and day I dream of you. Do you even know all the ways a lady can be seduced? The things that I could teach you." Lord have mercy.
This is such a wild thing to say.
Woo.
After it looks like your engagement has fallen apart.
Even the camera is shaky and moves with them as they breathe each other's air. The way this was shot is absolutely stunning. Whew. In this breath, as they're breathing each other's air, as they are 2 inches apart from each other's faces, she starts to admit that she shares his feelings. She doesn't want to have these feelings, but she can't help herself. He cups her face, moves her hair, nuzzles her face, and just hovers, just a breath away from each other. Quite literally almost kiss right before he pulls away as he lets out a breath at the same time we all do. Jonathan Bailey, sir, my honor is hanging by a thread. My honor. He makes it clear that if he marries Edwina, it sentences them to an eternity of torment, as he will always want Kate until one day when his last thread of honor will finally snap, and finishes it off by saying, "Is that what you want for your sister?" Because at this point, I don't even think, and we all know this, Kate's not thinking about her. She just wants Edwina to be happy. And to make matters worse, in the following scene, Edwina makes it clear that she loves Anthony. She wants nothing more than to be his wife. So Kate takes this to heart. She's like, well, at least I can secure her happiness. She's going to self-sacrifice so that her sister can be with the man she loves, because that's what she said. And Kate takes that, and the next morning finds Anthony where they first met in the beginning of the show when they were writing in the morning. As a first-time viewer, I know when I was watching this for the first time, I'm thinking, oh shit, no one else is around. There's nothing to stop them. They can profess their love and figure out how to move forward. But no, these motherfuckers are so hard-headed. Anthony expresses he wants to end things with Edwina, which, yes, please. But he says he wants to end things with Edwina so that they can all go their separate ways. You don't ever have to see me. We can pretend this never happened. And a part of me feels like that's a lot for Kate too. Aside from the fact that it's going to break her sister's heart, this idea like you can pretend we never even met, because she pleads with him and says, please don't break my sister's heart. Don't break your engagement. Marry her. Make her happy. And Anthony's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? And so are we. We're all like, excuse me, Kate? This gets rid of the problem. She even calls him by his first name. Something, might I add, that she didn't like to hear from Edwina earlier in the same episode. And swears that the passion that they feel for each other is going to fade. It must, because it has to. All as Alanis Morissette's You Oughta Know plays in the background. Oh, my goodness. Anthony agrees to this doomed marriage just to please Kate. To please Kate. Think about that. And the episode ends with Kate standing there crying as he rides away. Ugh.
Mess.
Messy. Nadja, give me your thoughts.
I mean, you know, Anthony's declaration scene is one of my favorites of anything I've ever seen.
Oh
maybe
my
ever,
God.
maybe in history, maybe my entire life.
The best declaration. I don't even know if you can call that a declaration.
Oh, it's so good.
You feel so much the intensity and the conflict.
This is where the plot of this season starts to bug me a bunch because, okay, episode 5, we've got 3 more episodes we need to fill with stuff. We don't want our romantic leads to end up, satisfied too early. That'd be boring. But, like, continuing with the engagement, like, they keep taking the stakes and ramping them up higher and higher in a way that is so unnecessary. It drove me crazy. Like, when we watched it initially, I was like, are you fucking joking? Like, it was the perfect excuse to end the engagement.
100%.
Just go to Edwina, just be like, hey, sorry, that was some really shady shit with the inheritance thing. Like, we're out. And she would just be like, wow, I'm really mad at Kate. And then marry someone else probably.
And it'll blow over. Lady Danbury and Violet will do their little, little social scheming in a week or two. Se olvida. But it was Kate's insistence at the end of this episode for him to continue with the wedding is what pissed me off. Even after I was pissed at Anthony for proposing to Edwina, I was pissed at him throughout this whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're finally at this point where you're like, yes, Anthony, you're right. And then Kate's the one to pull the shit at the last minute. Like, no, you have to continue with this marriage. It will break my sister's heart.
Yeah, your sister's like 22. She'll be fine. This is where it starts to get too convoluted for me. Everything leading up to this was like, yes, high stakes. I get it. A sister relationship, romance. You're like, yes. This is where it's like, there's a resolution and they speed right past it. Like an exit on the fucking turnpike. And you're like, what?
What happened?
Because the conflict could have gone in a different direction, right? Like, he calls off the engagement. Then the conflict of the next episode is like Edwina shuts out Kate because she's mad. And then Kate's trying to get into Edwina's good graces. So she's ignoring Anthony, right? But then somehow she and Anthony still can't stay away from each other. And then we get into episode 7 and episode 8 and it resolves their story. No. Now we're not fucking doing that.
No. Now we have to plan a wedding.
That low-key no one wants except Edwina because she's dumb.
Except Edwina because she is oblivious.
She dumb.
I don't want to say I don't think she's dumb. She is oblivious. She's definitely being sheltered by Kate to not see the things that's going on around her. She wants this wedding because she feels that Anthony provides her with everything they want, and he's handsome and he's kind and he's charming. He checks all the boxes for her. He really does. So why wouldn't she be excited about this engagement? The only thing is that to us, it's so plainly obvious. How can you not see what's going on around you? So we open up episode 6, The Choice, and we're getting ready for a wedding. Yay. We can't wait.
So the queen insists on planning personally every single detail of this wedding. She is selecting food and decor, exotic birds like peacocks. Brimsley is still on the hunt for Lady Whistledown. So he's on a different mission, a side quest, if you will. And she makes sure to remind everyone His Majesty the King is not meant to leave his wing of the palace. This is all the day before their wedding. The bride is also preparing. The Sharma women engage in this really beautiful kind of like ceremonial ritual, a haldi ceremony. I had never seen that or heard of it before. It was beautiful to watch. It was like a really nice scene. Haldi is Hindi for turmeric. So they make a turmeric paste that is spread on the bride and groom the day before or morning of their wedding. Turmeric itself is known for its healing and cleansing properties, and haldi is pretty much like a cleansing procedure for the couple prior to their wedding day. It gets rid of the evil eye, bad spirits.
Mal de ojo.
Mal de ojo. Wow, it is wild. There are so many different cultures that for different reasons believe in mal de ojo. I don't want to know where that comes from. It's probably aliens. I don't want to know.
Alien. Well, it's mal de ojo is essentially bad juju that others can send to you or put onto you through hate and envy. And sometimes that could be conscious or subconscious.
Subconscious mal de ojo is wild.
Subconscious mal de ojo is wild.
Like, you're really walking around being a hater and just cursing other people. That's crazy.
Unknowingly.
Also, the yellow color of the turmeric paste represents prosperity in South Asian culture. And this entire scene between Edwina, Kate, and Lady Mary, as they are performing this haldi ceremony, is set to a cover of Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham from the Bollywood smash hit movie by the same name. So that was a huge Easter egg for South Asian Bridgerton viewers, which I think was really, really cool. Edwina is radiant with joy. I mean, she's giddy. She's kicking her little feet. She's giggling as she's getting covered in the turmeric paste.
Little does she know that the mal de ojo, meant to be repelled by the ceremony, is actually in the room with them. Kate, bless her heart, is really trying her best, but her pain shows plainly on her face. Edwina spreads some of the haldi on Kate to bring her luck in love. And when she does this, Kate turns to a mirror that's in the room to see the haldi on her face, and most likely wishing that she was the one in Edwina's place.
Edwina actually expresses that she feels like Anthony doesn't look at her enough. Girl, he doesn't. He's busy staring at your fucking sister.
We know. And yes, you should be concerned. But Kate tries to comfort her by telling her, looks don't mean anything.
Okay,
Mujer, who you trying to tell that looks don't mean anything?
Sí, claro, claro. On the other side of Mayfair, Grosvenor Square, the Bridgerton boys are toasting to Anthony besting Kate. Remember the prickly spinster of a beast? That is Edwina's sister.
God.
While Anthony is having a bout of self-pity over his duty.
I love Benedict when he's like, tell me, brother, when you are done with your duty, are you going to continue to tell us about your duties?
And like, Anthony is kind of continuing with this self-pitying moment from season 1, right? Where a lot of season 1, he had this resentment about his position as Viscount in his family that he lorded over his other siblings, where he was like, you guys don't understand. I have so much responsibility. I'm in charge of the prosperity of this family. You have no idea how hard it is to be me, how much pressure I'm under. And it's kind of like, yeah, I may not have any idea how much pressure you're under, but it would be dope if you shut the fuck up and stopped resenting me, a person with no control over your situation, for you being who you are. That's kind of the ultimate conflict between Anthony and his siblings. The thing that I think creates the most distance between them, that he is like stuck on this island by himself, just surrounded by fucking duty and responsibility, only because he's viewing all of it as a burden, right? Like, he's like, all of this sucks and it's terrible. And his siblings, because they weren't born bearing the same burden, just have to suffer his resentment all the time and like his dismissiveness, his attitude. And that definitely doesn't make for like the best relationships with your siblings. He's lucky that Benedict and Colin like him enough. You know what I mean?
Pretty much. Yes.
The more he drinks the night of his quote unquote bachelor party, the more he gets deep in his feelings about his duties and every sacrifice that he has to make for his family. Now we get to the day of the wedding. We see that the Featheringtons are getting ready to attend this wedding. Lady Featherington is having Philippa wear one of Cousin Jack's large ruby necklaces so that they can entice investors at the wedding's reception. The diabolical scheming, okay?
I mean, she's trying to get her bag. I wouldn't call it diabolical. She's not hurting anyone other than rich people's money.
Listen, don't make me defend rich people because I won't. But the lying is bullshit. Anyway, Lady Featherington hopes that seeing Philippa or Prudence? It's Prudence.
Have I been saying Philippa? Oh, I've been saying Philippa. God damn it.
So
I have been saying Philippa, my bad.
it's all good.
It is Prudence.
Lady Featherington is having Prudence wear one of Cousin Jack's large ruby necklaces. She is hoping that it will inspire people of the Ton to inquire about the rubies that Lord Featherington has in his mines in the Americas. And would possibly invest in some type
like
of
a
pre-order. Okay, bitch. In
Pre-order
shares,
situation.
shares of a fucking mine. Like, what the fuck is this? And
oh my God.
we see so much more of scheming Lady Portia Featherington this season. It's both entertaining and enraging. Again, I'm not gonna defend rich people, but I'm mad about this because I hate that they're lying and scheming.
It's especially entertaining, though, when we start seeing Cousin Jack start to take interest in Portia because of how she takes control of the situation. Saying he loves when a woman seizes control.
Lord Jesus, Cousin Jack. First of all, go take a cold shower.
Cousin Jack.
Second of all, visit one of Antony's brothels. So, in the bridal suite, Edwina gets ready. Kate offers Edwina her own late mother's green wedding bangles. So, as we've mentioned before, Kate and Edwina do not share a mother. Lady Mary is Kate's stepmother. And Kate's biological mother, in, the few belongings that she was able to pass on to Kate before she passed away, are including these green wedding bangles that are supposed to bring good luck. In India, certain parts of the country, these bangles are a traditional part of the attire of an Indian bride. The meaning and customs shift throughout the country, but overall, they signify good fortune, prosperity, long life, fertility. But a bangle falling or breaking signifies bad luck. Kate giving these bangles to Edwina is another signifier of her projecting her dreams and things that she wishes she could have for herself onto her younger sister.
Yeah.
A little bit like a voodoo doll of yourself.
Oh, no.
Ugh. Over at the Bridgerton home, we see another incredibly wholesome scene of the Bridgerton family. I
love seeing them together. When they do, anytime they're getting ready for something, it's just chaos.
It's so funny. It is chaotic. It is very endearing. It feels very like anyone who's part of a big family has ever had to go somewhere with said family. Yeah,
yes.
It's a real
try to get out on time.
Daphne tries once again to get Antony to admit to his true feelings and to possibly not continue with the wedding.
Dun, dun, dun.
He will not hear of it. He feels like he's too far gone.
I will not hear of this.
He feels like he's too far gone, in too deep. You've only got the rest of your life, okay?
Too far down this road.
She brings up their father and reminds him that she also remembers the loss of their father, and she remembers the way that it changed Antony. Something that we've heard Violet Bridgerton mention, especially during the time at Aubrey Hall.
What he says is a bit heartbreaking because we know it's what would happen to any kid in a similar situation. I feel like there's a lot of older siblings that could maybe relate to this, because when Daphne starts to list all the ways he has changed, his response is, well, what choice did I have? I changed so that our family might survive and so that you could be respectable enough to marry a duke. And when she tries to explain that, yeah, but you can choose happiness. You can fight for the family that you want. Fight for the life you want. He replies with, I fight for the family that I have. Here you see more starkly the disconnect he feels with his siblings, right? Because they each have a future that they can choose and a family that they can plan for. Their possibilities are endless. Like, it's just a matter of them going for what they want. Whereas the way he sees it, he was not given a choice. And this is why he continues to feel that he cannot choose, because he has not ever had the ability to choose. His future was chosen for him, and it is to carry on his family, who is still rather a young family. His siblings are as young as 10 years old. He's raising them. I can't even imagine that he can wrap his head around starting a new family just yet while he's still raising Gregory and Hyacinth. And I think we all feel for Anthony, and his siblings do too. I'm sure his siblings do too. But one thing that Daphne says that's also true is that this situation that he's in right now, this is still a decision that he's making. You couldn't have chosen to inherit this family. Those were the cards you were dealt, and you had to deal with that. But this, what you're doing right now, this is a decision you're making. And he's making this decision while resenting everyone around him for it. And so what Daphne says is ultimately what this garners is pity, not respect. And throughout this whole scene, she's been straightening his tie. And by the time she leaves, it looks worse. It's like smaller now, less full. And again, we leave him in this scene staring into a mirror in his dressing room. And we open the next scene with a reflection of Kate on a mirror in her dressing room. While Edwina and Lady Mary are excited, looking at Edwina in her bridal gown, across the room we see another mirror reflecting Kate's back. The symbolism with the mirrors are all over the place in this season, but we see it a lot in this episode. Because what is Kate doing? She is neglecting her reflection. She is neglecting what she really feels so that her sister can be happy and Edwina and Mary can share this moment that they're sharing right now. When Edwina notices Kate, and this is one of those moments, like we mentioned, where she does notice something's wrong with her. She notices she's not herself. She's not really okay. When Edwina notices Kate, she decides that she's going to give back her mother's bangles. And she says to her, I cannot wear them because I do not want to feel as though I'm taking something that is rightfully yours. Coño. So yeah, Edwina naturally does not want to accept Kate's mother's bangles. And she insists that Kate should wear them. And this, my friends, sisters of the pod, will turn out to be the best and also worst idea. The wedding gets underway to the beautiful rendition of of Harry Styles' Sign of the Times.
Jail. Jail.
Who has watched The Idea of You? Yes, we did. I can't wait to go into our episode speaking about that movie. Anywho, back to Bridgerton. Violet and Daphne are doubtful. They are doing the Dominican. Bueno. Vamos a ver.
We see Queen Charlotte, who is stunning as usual, wearing a lilac hue, the wedding color, and sporting a wig that to me resembles the shape of a heart. The storytelling,
human heart, not even like a heart.
Wild.
For me, this wig she has on definitely resembles a human heart. The storytelling behind her wigs amaze me every time.
We have Kate as the maid of honor. She walks down the aisle first, and just as she and Anthony lock eyes, we all realize at the same time, bitch,
this is about to be a shit show.
This shit gonna be a disaster.
They gonna be a shit show.
Cannot stop fucking looking at each other. Looking at each other is what I said. They cannot stop fucking looking at each other. It is too much. Edwina is getting walked down the aisle by Lady Mary. She is so precious. She is so innocent. She looks. That's the thing. Edwina looks innocent, girl-like, childlike, adorable.
She's not a child, though.
Exactly. But it's that she keeps being framed as one, treated as one, regarded as one by everyone else. Her youth works against her, and her sweetness and her demeanor works against her in this regard because she's not seen as especially womanly. However, her titties, they are about to bust out of that neckline.
Yeah, girl. And dress fits her beautifully. She looks stunning. She looks stunning. And she wears this choker that to me resembles kind of a design of a henna that you would typically get on your arms, hands, body for an Indian wedding. Because the way that the shapes are scalloped, there's these beads that are like the dots you see in a henna. And I just love, like, when it comes to jewelry, you don't really see them sporting what's popular in the time. You don't see them with the big jewels and gems. You don't see that. Their jewelry tends to lean to the daintier side, and all their jewelry pays homage to their South Asian culture. And I love that they kept that true to them. When it comes to their dresses are very of the time. aside from the colors. But when it comes to their jewelry, they don't diverge from the South Asian influence. And I love that they keep that. Anyway, yes, Edwina is fucking precious walking down the aisle. If only that was enough for Anthony, because this man simply cannot stop stealing glances at Kate. He quite literally zones out in the middle of the ceremony and pictures himself at the altar with Kate.
He is so distracted by this daydream where he sees Kate as his bride that he fully forgets to repeat after the Archbishop, you know, the marriage part. Everyone is looking at him and he's looking at Kate, and Edwina gently reminds him what he's supposed to say. Right at this very awkward moment, Kate, who was fiddling with her emotional support mama bangles,
Goodness,
accidentally lets out the clasp, and one of the bangles falls to the floor, clattering loudly in the middle of the Archbishop's speech. Anthony, who has just been, it's not even La La Land, it's not even Heads in the Clouds, like he's been drifting through outer space for this entire ceremony, dives down like an action movie star to pick up this bangle, save the day, and reattach it to Kate's wrist. They both squat down to the ground at the same time. He hands it to her as though in a trance. Makes sure that he gets a little snuggle on her hand. And everybody is like, what the fuck is happening?
hello, Earth to Anthony.
It's like Edwina has finally fucking woken up as she watches this interaction between them as they're handing the bangle fucking
It's
back
like
and forth.
Switch went off. You can see it in her face.
She gasps. Anthony's fully ready to go back to the ceremony now. Now that he's been, you know, really distracted by Kate, bent down and pick up her bangle, he's like, yeah, anyway, totally, I do.
My bad. Let's continue.
Yeah, my wife, Edwina, totally. Edwina's like, wait, no. She starts to panic. She starts like hyperventilating, and she bolts like she is running a 100-meter dash off of this altar out the doors of the church. To gasps, cacophonous gasping across the entire chapel. Everybody's like, what the fuck is happening? Violet and Daphne, they know some shit is about to go down. Not only is Daphne like, oh shit, I called this. Violet is looking at Daphne like, bitch, what are you looking at? What do you know? What is your information?
So as Edwina runs out of the church, Lady Mary and Kate run after her. Everyone's stunned, doesn't know what the heck is happening. And the fireworks that were supposed to go off at I Do have scared the shit out of everyone. It's like the cherry on top of this perfect disaster of a wedding.
It's a mess. Back in the dressing room, Edwina is reeling. We thought those boobies were going to pop out of that neckline before. Girl, with these deep breaths she is taking, they are going to pop out now. And Lady Mary is trying to offer her tea, and she screeches, "It is not tea that I want! What I want is the truth." And she turns towards Kate, and she is done. She is done with this shit.
Charithra put her foot in this scene because her performance here felt real. Like, she's practically growling at Kate.
She straight up asks Kate if she loves Anthony, and Kate cannot answer. And as we all know, it's in the eyes, Chico. Her eyes and her silence speak louder than words ever could. Mary finally realizes what's going on and tells Kate to leave. Go anywhere else. Also, listen, this is one of those parts where I want to take Mary, I want to smack her across the face. What the fuck do you mean, go anywhere else? Both of your daughters are hurting, and now you just chose.
Oh, truly.
Like, you were like, her problem is bigger than your problem because I'm blaming you for her problem? Scram.
No, yeah. Well, right then and there, Edwina's the victim.
The thing is, Kate
Is how it's portrayed.
Yeah. Kate never views herself as like being worthy in a way of like deserving help or like deserving attention or deserving time. She's constantly working, right, to earn time and earn attention. And this is like an example. It reinforces her belief about herself that she doesn't deserve the attention, the time, and the help. She has to work for it. And because she wasn't actively working for it, it's taken away.
Absolutely. Where Edwina's the one deserving of that time and attention.
Does what she does best, and she finds a closet to disappear into. Maybe she was hoping that Narnia was through there. Maybe she was getting ready to
que se abra la tierra. Y se la trague. She wanted to disappear. Yes.
She unlatches her bangles, throws them on the floor, and curls up on the floor, low-key in the fetal position, and just sobs with her head between her knees, which we see from above as a small mirror in a random storage closet inside the palace reflects her side profile. This is a goddamn mess. How the fuck did we get here, y'all? When Kate and Anthony couldn't face their feelings because they're both so used to pushing their wants and needs aside for the sake of their families, it completely got away from them. It hurt them. It hurt Edwina. It hurt their respective families. It's exactly what they were trying to avoid from the beginning, which they could have avoided by just being honest. Anthony tries to see if Edwina still wants to continue with the wedding. She asks if he just wants a marriage or her, and he says he wants both. Which is the wrong answer. I think Edwina's like beginning to get wise to what the fuck is going on, and she's like, now she's seeing herself, I think, as what she actually was to Anthony, which was a placeholder, not a real person to become a spouse, just a spouse.
Yeah, for sure.
The irony is that Anthony was pretty, I would say in the first 2 or 3 episodes, he's pretty straightforward about like, I'm not a lovey-dovey person. I just want like a good wife who's like a good mother to my children. And anyway, that's it. And Edwina's like, oh my God, it's like so honest. I love that. And it's like,
I love that.
Girl.
And then now that he's being truthful, he's
been consistent.
Okay.
It's like the one thing he's been consistent about this entire time. Yeah. Everyone who tried to tell her, hey, this isn't what you want. We don't know if this is what you want. Nah, go fuck yourselves. I'm 22, so I know everything. Okay.
Kate was the one telling her this isn't what you want. Everyone else was like, well, people get married for convenience all the time.
Right.
And she was fine with that. Something that Anthony does as well is right off the bat, he takes the notion of choice out of this conversation because he goes straight to telling her that their roles, their duty as Viscount and the Diamond is what yokes them together. So there's no choice here. These are just the positions that life put us in. And this is what we must do now because you were the Diamond and I'm the Viscount. So this is what we do. And that's how he sees his life. And she asks him straight out if he loves her. And this going back to what you just said, he said it from the beginning. He wasn't looking for love. He's been clear about that. And he answers her with, I understand you. And she seems to receive that answer. Okay. And then she goes on to ask, well, what about my sister? And this fucking guy, the thorn easily removed from the blossoming flower of our lives. Bitch, you can take that thorn right in your fucking eye and fuck off.
But honestly, to that, what would be the right answer?
So with that, he's pretty much making it clear, we're going to continue with this marriage and your sister's going to be out of our lives. That's how this has to work. So marry me, a person that doesn't love you, and cut ties with your sister. And on the rewatch, I started to see Edwina a little differently. When I was initially watching this, I'm pissed. I respect Edwina here because she makes it clear to him in this moment that she does have a choice. She understands the consequences of not going forward with the wedding, but it's not reason enough for her to pretend that she doesn't have a choice. And so she asks him for the time to weigh her options. So listen, you can go ahead and pretend you don't have a choice. You can make this about duty and roles. I know I have a choice and I'm going to consider them. Kate is still in the closet, still contemplating her bracelets on the floor. She finally gets herself together, puts them back on, shakes it off. We see Kate do this when she's going to regroup. She like physically in her head, whatever thoughts I have, let me shake them out, and makes an attempt to leave her refuge. As she's leaving, she spies Anthony and goes right back into that closet. But at this point, Anthony has already seen her and charges after her. Now they're both in there, coming to terms with what happened and how they're both realizing that they have underestimated Edwina. They thought that they were going to be able to keep everything bottled up and she would never be the wiser. Now Kate is just racked with guilt and she tries to leave when Anthony grabs her by the hand. Again, here we go. And he asks her to wait. For what? What are we waiting for? We don't know. He just wants to be in that closet and ignore everything happening on the outside for as long as possible. And they just gaze at each other in agony once more. I kind of like this scene because there's so much symbolism behind them being in this closet and having a moment of reflecting into each other, seeing each other, admitting to each other, fuck. And also is like a slight refuge from everything that's happening outside. Something that I think they've both wanted for a really long time is to be able to just ignore everything that's happening and just focus on themselves. And I feel like this closet maybe allowed like a little snippet of that. Kate leaves with a quote unquote, "Goodbye, my lord." And again, shakes it off as she's trying to ignore whatever thoughts she might be having to try to keep it moving. Who else is trying to avoid the situation and everything that's going on? Violet and Lady Danbury. It is so humbling. Even as the viewer, you're humbled to see them in a position where they feel like they no longer have any control. And realizing that neither of them knows exactly how to proceed. Because I feel like even as the viewer, you're kind of counting on them to fix it. Right? Like you feel like you've never seen them in a position where they don't have the answer, where they don't have another step or a scheme that, okay, maybe we can do this. Because they start the season off so sure of themselves in influencing and guiding these young people around them. And the speech that Lady Danbury gives to Kate during, is it episode 2, after the poetry reading?
Yeah, I think
where
so.
She's like, you know, hey, when you realize that you can't influence the people around you, just let it go. Just let it go. Do your thing. Don't let it consume you. Because Lady Danbury's talking to Kate about influencing Edwina and Anthony. And Lady Danbury's pretty much like, hey, girl, let that go because this only ends badly when you're trying to meddle in other people's situations. And maybe she should have listened to herself. These two end up quite literally doubling over in nervous laughter and honestly quite cringy laughter over the shit show that has culminated since the Sheffield dinner. And one thing it does do is that it helps them kind of find common ground again after their little rift. Now out of the closet, Kate tries to go back to Edwina and finally tells her the truth about her feelings, right? I have been feeling these feelings. You know, I couldn't help it. But her declaration to Edwina is still full of more self-sacrifice. Pretty much essentially what she's saying is, yes, I do have these feelings. These are my feelings, but my feelings don't matter. And she goes further to say, like, you're the one who deserves to be Viscountess. You were born to be Viscountess. And Edwina, pissed, is like, why? Why me and not you? And Kate's answer pretty much just boils down to, I give what I have in order to protect you. And as an older sister, I can relate to Kate in this way, right? And it's easy to view Edwina in this situation as being ungrateful and maybe a little unfair to Kate because the whole time we've been so in tune to Kate's feelings and kind of her inner conflict. Honestly, during my first watch, I'm pissed at Edwina. I'm like, how dare she talk to her older sister who's done everything for her in this way? I was pissed at her attitude, especially when she spews is the word, to Kate, half sister, with so much hate.
Listen, okay, I simply must intrude because not for nothing, Okay, Edwina's allowed to be mad. It's her wedding day. The guy she thought she would. Okay. Yep, it's all bad. It's all bad. Be upset about that. As soon as she whips out the half sister, we're done
Yeah.
now. We're done.
She wants to hurt Kate by saying that. Yeah.
Kate was feeling like a little too guilty and a little too vaina. They get to tell her, if you don't shut your fucking mouth, I'll slap that word out of it. Dude, I have half siblings. I cannot imagine a scenario where I would look at my siblings and be like, no, half siblings.
Could never in my life where
I can't imagine anything.
it's never even crossed my mind
No.
to make the distinction.
It's a logistical fact. It's not a behavior. One does not behave as a half sibling. That's bananas to me.
Right. And you're not raised as a half sibling.
No.
Especially if you're raised together in the same household, she has no reason to have said that to her. None whatsoever, other than she just wants to hurt her and invalidate her protectiveness over her. And even in the coming episodes, we're all pissed at Edwina. We do all really get mad at her because she does come off a little brattish.
A little.
But right now, in this moment, today at their wedding, I think she has every right to feel the way that she does. Because Kate says, I give what I have in order to protect you. And again, I can sympathize with that. I can relate with that. What Kate also did in trying to protect her was undermine her. From the beginning, Kate tries to choose what she felt Edwina needed. She assumes that what she needed were the same things Kate wanted for herself. In this protecting of her, quote unquote, she keep things from her as if she was a child. She took away any agency that Edwina might have to make her own choices, as you would with a child. After the rewatch, all of this to me is Edwina, although impolitely, taking back that agency and reminding Kate that she is indeed a grown woman and whatever she chooses to do will have nothing to do with anyone else but herself and what works for her and what she wants.
I have a thought here as a younger sibling and a young guest sibling. We've talked a little bit about sibling dynamics, like in different movies that we've covered and stuff, and like in Bridgerton. And like that whole any decision I make will just be for me and fuck you guys. That's like massive youngest sibling energy because you don't have to take care of anybody. And I'm calling myself out when I say that. Like, I feel like it was until I felt my parents beginning to age. Until then, I was like, yeah, fuck it. I'm just doing this shit for me. I'm out here for me. I don't need to take care of anybody. I don't need to be aware of any shit. My siblings have it covered. I'm out here. It's like the opposite of like what we see Anthony going through, right? Where he feels like the caretaker for this entire big family. La-di-da, I get to just skip away and do my own thing and leave the burden of the steaming pile of horse shit right on top of my sister's doorstep.
For sure. There's definitely a privilege. That's a privilege that typically, and not in all cases, but typically younger siblings do have. And as we're seeing with Edwina. But also, I think that for Kate and for Anthony, there's almost this codependency with having to be the martyr and making these choices for these people around them and then resenting them for the choices you're making for them. Speaking from an older sibling to my younger sibling, yes, I will do whatever I need to do to be able to protect you from being parentified by a parent, being judged unfairly, making choices that didn't work out for me, maybe helping you make different choices. I, however, cannot take your choices from you. I can tell you, hey, in my experience, this happened. Hey, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. In me taking away your choice and telling you, no, this is what you have to do because I'm your older sibling. And I think this is definitely something we see a lot in parentified children. When you parentify a child, they're going to see their younger siblings as like their mini children. And sure, we share that dynamic in certain situations, but I can't infantilize you by making your choices for you. And I think that that's what Kate has been doing.
Heard. I'm still mad at Edwina.
Me too. Listen, me too. I'm not saying that she's not wrong. I'm saying that she has a right to reclaim her agency. She's doing it in not a nice way. Kate doesn't deserve the anger from her.
Okay, I concede. While Edwina,
because I want to continue.
Because I want to continue. Because I'll die on that hill. Edwina's a fucking brat.
No, and I agree. I agree that she's a brat.
It makes me so 100%. Angry.
And I'm more mad at her in the coming episodes.
Mm-hmm.
In this episode, I can understand and empathize.
Because it's her wedding day. Yes.
Right? And everything culminated to this moment. She has been kept in the dark the whole time. Kate has been lying to her. Anthony has been lying to her. She feels like everyone's treating her like a baby. And that's bullshit. So here, I can understand her anger, and she has every right to reclaim her agency. The later episodes, though, she can fuck right off.
And we'll get there, baby.
Oh, yeah.
So while Edwina mulls over her choices, all of the wedding guests are outside in the Queen's gardens, not really sure what's going to happen, but being corralled there like livestock nonetheless. The Queen is like, hold. The wedding will go on. I cannot fail. So the Queen has unnecessarily put stakes onto this wedding day, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, it cannot fail. Don't let anybody fucking leave. Because they'll get married. She's just having like a moment, right? She's having a lapse in judgment. Okay, bitch. So Brimsley is taking note of all of the ladies who are gossiping about the situation. And he has employed a new strategy, which is planting different rumors in different parts of the reception party, basically to see who's Lady Whistledown.
Which of these rumors is going to make it to a publication?
Correct.
Which of these rumors is going to be publicized?
Correct. And they are paying close attention to Cressida Cowper, Penelope Featherington, and Eloise Bridgerton, whose own brother was going to get married. That would be so crazy of her. Anyway, Eloise finally confesses to Penelope that she has feelings for Theo. It's cute to see Eloise crushing because romance is something that has been so back burner for her. She has not paid any romantic attention. She doesn't seem to have much of an interest at all in getting married. Like, there's a lot of Eloise's depth that we still haven't seen because we're not examining her as like a completely three-dimensional character. And her adding in a layer of like a little crush situation
starts giving you that.
Exactly. It like contributes a little bit more depth to her.
For me, it's the way that she explains this to Penelope, because there's like no better way to explain girlhood, honestly. Like, overthinking conversation, thinking that if you know more, you'll feel better. What she calls it is, it's a pleasing, stimulating, and thrilling kind of torment.
Which is so funny. As she describes all of this to Penelope, Penelope looks over towards Colin across the garden.
Oh, our girl's pining. Don't you worry, girl. You're about to have your time.
Eloise cannot help herself, and she decides to leave the wedding reception to go visit Theo because insane choice.
Her brother's wedding.
Insane choice. Insane! Because she needs to know immediately, post haste. Hey, Theo, do you like me? YN circle 1. Because what are we doing here if you don't like me? Because now I'm annoyed. I'm thinking about you too much.
Do you have thoughts of me when you think?
I just want to say something about... So the actress who plays Eloise is named Claudia Jessie. She's so fucking funny in her portrayal of Eloise. Like,
I love it.
The choices she makes, you can tell when Eloise is like feeling really awkward and just kind of like, it's like she has these internal moments of like, oop, that didn't work. Like, and
that sounded weird when I said it out loud.
Really fucking cracks me up. She does that so well. She goes to see Theo Sharp again. Eloise is not only being watched by the Queen and some of her footmen, she is going to the same printer Lady Whistledown uses to print her gossip sheet. And when she gets there alone, she's consorting with one of the print shop boys.
Mm-hmm.
All of it is bad. All of it makes her seem like the whistlingest of the Lady Whistledowns. It's real, real bad. As she goes to see Theo and tells him kind of like, hey, do you fucking like me? He walks into the print shop and comes out with a stack of books that he has set aside for her to read so that they can discuss them together.
Aww. It's the sweetest fucking thing.
That would sweep me right off my feet into my grave. I would be so endeared to whoever did that. Throughout this exchange with Theo, what we're learning about Eloise is that she will go after what she wants, rules be damned. Even if it's outside of convention, outside of what's normal for society, she will move heaven and earth for the people that she cares about.
And if you're familiar with Eloise's book, that's exactly what she does.
So, although Penelope is worried about Theloise, also known as the Theo and Eloise ship name, we're not sure if she is truly concerned about Eloise's position in society or if she's just worried about the proximity to her print shop.
And that's what we were saying before.
As we discussed earlier. But one thing we do know is that she's hopelessly in love with Colin Bridgerton. They managed to have a really sweet conversation about following your dreams and finding your purpose. Colin's face softens as he listens to her talk, and little by little, he starts to actually see her and realizes that there's more to her than what she lets on, that she's much more ambitious. She's much more, a much bigger thinker, I think, than he probably thinks ladies of the Ton are. And he ad-libs what Marina was trying to communicate to him when he last visited her, that Penelope cares for him and would never forsake him. I don't know. That sounds.
Say all that.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds mad deep.
You added that part at the end, sir. It sounds sweet, but he still only sees her as a compassionate, loyal friend.
Yeah. And then he gets distracted by Cake. Relatable King.
Because he's Colin.
Relatable. Back inside the palace, the queen worries about her credibility and what Whistledown will write on this failed marriage in the gossip sheet.
She is most displeased.
The matriarchs, Lady Bridgerton and Lady Danbury, are trying to flatter the anger out of her. And for once, it is not working. The queen is real, real mad. Edwina tries to explain herself to Her Majesty when suddenly the confused and very mentally ill king, excited and roused by the fireworks, bursts into the room, thinking that it is his own wedding day. Oof. Everyone, even the queen, freezes. No one knows what to do. The matriarchs, you can presume that they haven't seen King George out and about in decades.
Because anytime we've seen King George, it's been like in the privacy of their palace. Like it's just been Queen Charlotte and maybe Brimsley and the footmen. Nobody has seen him come out in this way. Oh, and it's what he says to her. He says to her, I didn't mean to keep you waiting, Lottie. And like when you think about him saying that in respect to like their relationship at this point, it's so heartbreaking because you know that she spent most of her time as Queen Regent essentially waiting for him to have a good day or waiting for him to get better. So it's so sad.
When Edwina realizes the king's stress, she calmly steps in front of him, tries to meet him where he is, doesn't try to convince him that he's mad or that he is not in the correct time and space. She reassures him that Charlotte will make an excellent queen, that they will have a long, loving marriage, and that he should get some rest before the ceremony. And like someone's actually just being nice to him, and it's like a really emotional moment. And the queen is so grateful for Edwina's compassion, and she not so subtly implies her discretion.
Yes.
That the queen gives her the choice about whether or not to go through with the wedding, because ultimately she thinks it should be Edwina's choice. Continue.
So my question is, or she forces them to marry?
Dog.
Or it's like, get married or I'm going to lock you in a tower?
Get married or die trying.
Oh, man.
We see Kate and Anthony in separate rooms receive notices from some of the Queen's footmen. They are summoned to the chapel. They each think that the other sent for them. Anthony thinks Kate sent for him. Kate thinks Anthony sent for her.
With the quickness that these people show up to this chapel.
But
yeah.
It was Edwina who sent for them both to meet there. Edwina informs them that she won't be marrying Anthony, that he would never love her the way she deserves. Yes, Edwina, you are right about that. Guess what? Everybody's been fucking telling you that for 5 fucking episodes.
You know what, though? High key, both Anthony and Kate have expressed to her from the beginning that he wasn't going to marry her for love.
I'm so annoyed. She also calls out Kate for pushing all the things she wanted for herself onto her younger sister and makes it clear that she'll be making her own decisions from that point forward. Again, very much a younger sibling privilege that older siblings are not granted. She proves that she's braver than them both, and she prepares to deal with whatever circumstances come out of this situation as long as she remains true to herself. Edwina leaves as an orchestral version of Pink's What About Us brings the episode to a close. Finally, the members of the Ton who were sequestered in this reception are allowed to leave the grounds. The members of the Ton are allowed to leave the grounds. The Queen sits at her husband's bedside as he rests fitfully. And Anthony's vision of being alone at the altar with Kate finally comes to fruition. Kate is not in a wedding dress. She's still in her bridesmaid's gown. And she expresses that just for a moment, she wishes to suspend time and not think of what comes next. What Anthony said earlier, now she wishes to wait. He turns his head. She gazes at him a little bit longer before saying, "Goodbye, my lord."
They crash into each other. She grabs a handful of hair.
As she should.
And it's like
hair for the gods this man has.
Desperate, breathless kissing. It's almost like they didn't know how much time they have left. They only had this moment. They've been wanting this for so long. They were just eating and tearing at each other.
And that brings us to the end of episode 6.
My goodness. Well, that is episodes 5 and 6, sisters. God, so much happens in these episodes. There's so much angst. There's so much anger. There's so many feelings.
I love angst.
Oh, we get that iconic declaration from Anthony, and it's not even the last one. So make sure to meet us back here to talk through episodes 7 and 8 and gush over how these two end up at the end of the season.
Join us back.
Shut up.
Friends, you join us right back here. You join us back.
Join us back here. That makes sense.
Join us back here, y'all. Watch this space.
You're an ass. Goodness me.
Thank you.
So, sisters, I hope you're having a great spring. Hope you've seen our man in The Idea of You.
Mess.
I think that we have finally convinced Nadhya to join us on the side of the Nicholas Galaxy. We hope to be able to record for it soon to release before the end of the month. So hang with us while we conclude our Springerton so we can jump into The Idea of You.